Okay, hi everybody. My name is Kevin Long. Welcome to another exciting evening of Innovation in Motion. We innovated for like 30 minutes trying to get the PowerPoint projector working, and for some reason, don't ask me why, if I push play and try to show the full screen, it won't show. But if you put Keynote up there and do the exact same thing, it works just fine. So the one speaker who used PowerPoint, we're not going to name names or anything, is going to be punished, and we're going to have to just show it to you like this. Okay. So just to throw out there, if anyone's using Twitter, we're using the hashtag InPDX. If anyone would like to watch Innovation in Motion, it happens the first Tuesday of every month, and you can watch it from home live at livestream.com/Innovation in Motion. If anyone ever needs video support, Paul's in the back, and he's already proven that he can make sound work, so we appreciate that. Our panelists tonight, to my left, we have Clint Bowers. Clint is the founder of Stripe Marketing. Clint is like a total scrappy entrepreneur, and I have a little man crush on him, so I'm super excited that he's on the panel tonight. And Patrick Thompson. Patrick's on the end. I've known Patrick for years. Patrick wakes up in the morning and swims in a bath full of cash from the magical app world that he does full time, and his app family supports him. So really excited to hear from Patrick tonight. The setup for this evening is going to be a little bit different than regular panels. We're going to have Clint, who he's not a developer. He's a professional marketer. Would you say that? So Clint's a professional marketer, and he gave himself 1 week to get over the fear of developing and publishing an app. And by the end of that week, he said, I'm going to have it published. So Clint has gone through his first app, and he just launched, which he'll talk about today, his first iOS app, and has had hundreds of thousands of downloads, tons of success, super interesting.
Relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking. More interesting than the apps that I've published. Okay. No swimming. So Clint's going to give a presentation for 15 minutes, and then Patrick, the veteran, the app veteran, is going to give a couple minutes of what Clint might want to think about doing to better market his app. Then we're going to have Patrick do a 15-minute presentation. He's going to talk about his app family, everything that he's done to market and make money off mobile apps. And then we're going to see if Clint, the first-time app publisher, can try to school Patrick, the veteran. So we'll see how that goes. And then we'll open it up for a Q&A at the end. Before we start, though, we have a super exciting prize. We always ask a question at Innovation in Motion, and the winner who gets the answer tonight is going to get this, which is super exciting. This is by far the best giveaway we've ever had at Innovation in Motion. So if you're ready to win this, you have to answer this question. How many apps does Gartner predict will be downloaded annually by 2017? One hint, last year iOS alone had 46 billion apps downloaded. So by 2017, how many apps will be downloaded? We got 1 trillion, it's a little lower. 150 billion higher. 200 higher, 400 lower. 300 billion apps will be downloaded by 2017. Round of applause to this gentleman. Come on up and get your prize. Come on up, come on up. Now it's actually April Fool's Day, so you get just the picture, not that. But I am going to give you this if you can hold it up for the audience. Does everybody remember these? Remember these? When you're hot stuff and you can control your iPad music from the distance? That's yours, my friend. It's yours.
Sweet.
All right. So with that said, we are going to innovate our way over to Clint's presentation. Clint, we have to play your video tonight.
Oh, the new one?
Yeah.
Oh, if you got it, man, go for it.
Every 5,000 years, the universe allows us to see into another world. This world, Lokani, is like no other ever seen. Once you enter Lokani, there is no going back. Because in this world, you are the hero. You are the one to save the day. You are the only one. Welcome to your world. Welcome to Addicting Space Runner.
Round of applause for Clint's first app. He just put it out, iOS app.
Thank you.
That video is so ridiculous. I love it. Okay, Clint, I'm going to keep it like this, and just let me know when you want to switch slides.
Okay, so everybody can hear me? Okay. All right, well, thanks for having me. Very, very excited to be here. Like Kevin said, I think actually there's a mutual man crush. We'll have to go on one of these mandates one of these days. Anyway, yeah, if I could introduce myself, like Kevin said, I'm the founder of Stripe Marketing, a couple other organizations, Crowdfunding in Action here in Portland, and now Lokani Entertainment. Subsequently, based off of an actual experiment that I ran last October. Go ahead and do next slide, please. So last year, around September, one of my mentors slash colleagues had the idea for me to write a book on crowdfunding. But actually, before I go into this, the reason I'm telling you this and everything else here is to get across the point that having product on the marketplace means you're in business. Without that, you're not in business. So just keep that in mind. So last summer, I had the idea to write an ebook just to kind of express some experiences and thoughts that I had on crowdfunding, and spent like 3 months on this book. And I didn't know what was involved with the process of getting it published. And I figured once it was done, once it went live, the whole world would see this and come to my feet with money, paying up to $20 for this ebook. I just figured it's valuable knowledge and people will pay for it. Well, what happened was we got the book written, finished the book, and I didn't know what was involved with publishing the book. So usually when I approach something like this, it's like, okay, I'll give myself like 15 hours on one Saturday. Just cap that to one time window to figure it out. Because it's all these variables involved with this type of process I've never been through. So what happened was, I ended up publishing the book. It took a couple hours to figure out end to end. And what happened was, as soon as it popped up on the screen, I had this like epiphany, and I was like, well, that's weird. That you can see the cover, but you can't see what's in it. And yet, it's up there, and in a way, the contents of the book are completely irrelevant to at this point until somebody buys the book. So I was like, holy crap, why did I spend 3 months making this, expecting people to now pay for this when they don't even have any idea of what's inside? So I'll go ahead and go with the next slide. So I had worked with a couple clients in the video game industry. One of my passions, I'm a nerd with the retro video games, all sorts of stuff like that. And I wanted to get my feet wet and eventually work into a product-based, scalable company, because most of the stuff I've been involved with is service-based. So I was like, okay, cap it. 1 week, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to give myself, I don't know what is involved with how to make an app for Android or iOS. Give myself 1 week to figure it out. Go ahead. In the time to do it, basically what happened was day one, found some software that I was kind of toying with. I took a week off of work, which is kind of just a walk into the woods. I didn't really know what to do. It was kind of a vacation for myself. Well, you get going. You get out of the gate. You go running, and by the end of the week, you have to have this thing published. Well, usually what we think is, all right, we're going to make a video game. Let's talk about story. Let's go talk about depth. Let's talk about all these things that make a video game, when really that is this process, right? There's the conception, the ideation, there's the actual development. We don't even think about the 100 other things involved with publishing and getting product on the market. So that was my mentality, and I wanted to get over that hump as soon as possible in the most lean sense possible, because I was doing this as a business exercise, hopefully something that I could build a business from. So what happened from that is, go ahead and next slide. So what I did is I got it published, and it literally involved many nights up until 5 in the morning on this vacation I was taking. Lots of headaches, lots of about throwing my monitor across the room, out the window, and quitting. What is that? What's that? Is that just random?
That's random.
Okay.
That's someone got a text.
Okay. So, so yeah, I call this process like eating a shit sandwich, because you have to get through these stages. If we stretch these out and dilute that nasty taste, it's like, well, we're in business. It feels like we're in business. We're having fun. You know, we're spending money and it feels good. When really, that's not business. Business is getting through this series of shit sandwiches until you get product on the market and you get your first 1-star rating or your first customer that hates your product. Those are the nuggets that you want, because those will affect everything you do in business that can help you take steps in the right direction to actually making a profit. So I knew I had to get over that hump, eat those sandwiches, whatever it was. So the game was finished, and I came, and by the way, I didn't have any time, money, or interest in marketing this because I had other work to do. This was just an experiment. So I wanted to bake this in. And many people think, oh, it's a fun app. Let's call it Frenzy. That was the working title. And I knew that wasn't going to be the title, so when I launched the app, I changed the title to a series of keywords that I thought people might use. And the name of the app ended up being Addicting Space Runner. And I got lucky because addicting is actually searched quite a bit, and it's not a real word. Addictive is the word. So there's actually not that much competition for the word addicting over addictive. So I was like, okay, I'm going to run with it anyway. Addicting, Space Runner, those are my keywords. First day, it gets downloaded about 60 times, and you get a 1-star rating. It was painful. It was absolutely painful.
Was that you giving it the star rating?
Yeah, I was like not perfect. My absolute rule is you don't have to aim for perfection. It has to be good. It cannot be crap. Nothing I do is crap. It's just good. And sometimes you over-deliver, and that's for the client's sake. That's great. So what happened? Go ahead, next slide. I let it sit, and it got about 150 downloads a day with no marketing, just organically, and that's awesome. People are paying $1 or more per download within the ad networks on mobile. And then after a while, once it hit 10,000 downloads, this exponential effect happened. And what I had done back with baking and marketing, I used everything to my advantage as possible. For example, because I only had a week to make a game, the assets used are completely simple. There's only 3 assets: the little ball, the background, and these platforms.
What does your game do? Just
It's
15
basically
seconds?
a little runner game, right? You tap the screen. And here's how I'm baking and marketing. The guy in the very back can see what the game is. So basically, you see somebody on the bus, you can see from the back of the bus, wow, it looks like a fun game.
So the game is there's a line and there's a ball. It's going across. You tap it. The ball jumps so it doesn't fall down the hole. It hits the next line. It's going. There's a gap. You jump the ball again, and that's the entire thing.
That's the entire thing. It's not a role-playing game. There's no story. There's no character. Because of my experience, I have 10 years experience in video production and storytelling, I can easily add a few layers of icing. So that's actually helping me in the sense of adding a little panache to every marketing asset. So I use this 100-foot marketing tactic that if somebody sees the game, they can see what it is and ask what it is. Within the app marketplace, go back one, you can see this one up here. You can tell it's a game, and you can basically see that's what the game is from that. And now you're looking on the page. You can't tell what any of those apps are. They look, what the heck? A face, a square, a W. Ooh, how do you play W? It may be the best app in the world, but I'm a marketer, not an app developer. I'm not married to the experience. I like to, bottom line, it has to be fun, but I'm not married to what's inside the app. I have to get people to the app as frictionless as possible. Okay, go ahead. So what happened, next one? With this big spike happened, there was as many as 17,000 downloads in a day. It's up to a total of 200,000. This was like Christmas, like seeing this happen, because I knew this revealed what problems I needed to solve at this point. I had these ideas of, let's add levels, let's add features, let's add colors. As soon as this spike happened, none of that stuff mattered because people were playing it for what it was. What was happening now, where there was a bug here, there was a timer glitch here. Okay, that's what I'm going to fix. I don't waste any time, don't waste any money on things that I think would add value, when in fact those are just, that's a fantasy, that's a guess. It's not perfect. It's good enough. People will play it, and they will tell you what else they want. But at the end of the day, it wasn't perfect, and it got up ranked as high as like 170 out of every app in Ireland on the Google Play Store, which was crazy. Okay, so next slide, please. How am I doing on time?
You're doing okay.
Okay. So that's what happens when you get over this fantasy of I want to be in business because it feels good and it's safe. Once you enter your world.
You now see why that video is so ridiculous. Now that you know what the game is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's incredible.
So getting over that hump, getting doors slammed in your face, getting slapped in the face, getting your product thrown on the ground and it breaking is the best thing you could have happen in business. And it's also the most painful thing you can have happen in business. If you can find out how to operate in that type of zone on a daily basis, I mean, it's like you see 100 pieces of data, you throw away 99, you stick with the one that works. The next day, it's the same thing. And after a while, you're working with silver and gold nuggets, and that's all you're working with. It's a very empowered state. So what happened now, go ahead, is one of my colleagues, Frank Hall, he's a longtime friend, he's here in the audience. He's the chief strategy officer now out of this developing, blooming company, hopefully. He said that when this spike happens, we want to make sure we build out laterally and build a brand. Because often in app marketplaces, apps work within a silo. It's hard, it is possible to cross-pollinate, but it's largely dependent on the emotional need of the customer at that time when they're about to make the decision to download an app. So I figured we may as well try to build a brand out of this. It's not an information app, it's an experience. And because of my interest in media and background in media, I wanted to add a few layers of icing to see if I could pull out this long-term foundation that could hopefully build a very big company someday, rather than just a series of products. So what happened was, when the spike happened, we put in a couple of things. Social media, all those technical things, that's great. Those require muscle to have those come to fruition. But one thing I did do is I put up a t-shirt shop on Cafe Press. I didn't go buy 1,000 t-shirts. I put up a bare bones t-shirt shop with a bare bones logo on there. And sure enough, 3 women's t-shirts were bought for $25.99 plus shipping.
Did you buy those?
No, and it wasn't my mother. It wasn't my mother either, or my girlfriend. So that was amazing. Didn't spend any money, and now we have 200,000 downloads. We have ad revenue, broken even already at this point. We have in-app purchases. People are paying upwards of $2 to remove ads off of the free version, and we have merchandise. And now with the video, even we have ads off of that. So many different sources of revenue that we're working at with cash positive at this point, all with the luxury of getting all the most valuable data in the world every single day. You know which problems to solve. So go ahead, next slide. So this is the technical breakdown of what happened. I didn't want to spend any money, and today, out-of-pocket costs, other than the computer I already had, which is not a crazy computer, it's a PC, out-of-pocket costs were $570. And this includes even porting it to the Mac version. Now, when you go to a Mac, when you go to the iPhone store, you literally have to develop part of the app with a Macintosh in Xcode and upload it. That whole process is the biggest shit sandwich I've ever been through. For making the game and publishing it on the Android marketplace in 1 week, it took me another 150 hours to get it to the iPhone marketplace. And it didn't cost me anything, but I don't know if that's a long-term solution that is practical, because it's very time-consuming. And I could probably make a game in a day and get it on the Android store. It'd probably take me 3 days to get it to the iPhone store, and it's still more expensive. So at the end of the day, the Android version has gotten 200,000 downloads, like hundreds of thousands of plays a day and ad impressions a day. The iOS version has been out for a week. It's gotten 200,000, mostly organic. It's been an interesting experience seeing how that will develop. What else has come out of this? Cash positive. There's a little brand equity there that could be built out long term and actually marry all the apps together. There's merchandise. The most important thing is, it didn't take me 18 months to get to this point in $50,000. I was able to get there in 1 week, and it was scary as hell. But that's what it takes to get to those gold nuggets of data and save you the time and make sure that you have runway to stay in business, basically, without taking loans out, without taking money out. So let's see here. You can go to the next slide. So what came out of this is this methodology that I've kind of developed, and I'll be writing some stuff about it in the subsequent months. But basically, the idea is minimize unknown variables. And if you could put a graphic to this, I would put an iceberg floating above water, basically. Because generally when we go into something, we have no idea what the process takes, and we stick with what we're comfortable with because it feels safe and it feels good to be accomplishing things. I've been guilty of it. I've been in business for myself off and on for like 5 years, and it's been slowly but surely figuring out what this iceberg looks like. And if you can get through that as fast as possible and expedite that process, I mean, then you have a lot of power. So things that could be attached to this is the idea of building a business and not a product. When your mind is expanded outward into, okay, I don't want to make one product. I'm going to think a year from now I'd like to have 10 products or 2 product lines with 10 products each. Because when you diversify, you actually can get to a point where you're more adjusting knobs rather than betting on one stock that's going to make you absolutely rich and famous. If you can sit back and say, okay, this one doesn't have to be perfect now, we're investing in this portfolio that we're going to expand on. A business mindset, even expanding out that, how many businesses are in your portfolio? Any advice that I could offer is that if you ever have an interest in any project, if it's writing a book, if it's making a game, if it's making some type of art, and you have any interest in it making money, maybe supporting a lifestyle outside of your work as your sole source of income, I would really encourage you to go through the process completely end to end, all the way through one time, and get through it as fast as possible. If you like to write, I would say know that either A, you like to write, or B, you like to write, but you would like to know the whole process of getting something published. Once you see these other 20 steps, the real power is in appreciating that is part of the process. And actually, the good thing is that knowing these steps will actually affect the development process so that you can actually make a better product for a much wider audience that more people will like. So let's see. In my final thoughts, moving forward, the iPhone launch has been interesting. It's required a lot of marketing muscle, and that's a lot of time. That's 40 hours so far I put in the last couple weeks in marketing. We'll see if it sticks. Again, with Android, I didn't do any marketing, and there's been 200,000 downloads. So I wanted to get through that process before I didn't do that. Before I didn't do other things, I wanted to get through the app marketing process once. Now I have more insight on what my next steps can be. So that's basically it. Learned a crap load of data. It feels like Christmas. Got lucky. I don't know, but hopefully I'm in an empowered position to keep moving forward.
Great. So Clint, I want to ask you a couple things about the steps you've done recently to market the iOS. I want to hold it for Q&A though. And Patrick, I want you to just keep in mind some advice that you can give Clint, and we're going to have you actually kick off Q&A at the end, because I want to, in a minute here, switch and have Patrick do his presentation to make sure we have time for Q&A, and I want to see what advice you guys would give each other. Before that, though, I just want to take a minute and call this an intermission. I want to thank the sponsors as I sit here and drink my beer and I had my meal, and we have a full packed room of this office that's given to us. Just a quick round of applause for the sponsors. So we're going to take a quick intermission here, and I'm going to have one of the sponsors come up and just say what they do, and I want to thank them up in front of everybody. Can we have Tupton come on up? Raise your hand if you had a beer or a soda tonight. Okay, this is the guy that made it happen.
So just to let everybody know, I put another case of beer on ice. So if you missed the beer at the end, please go grab one at during the intermission. My name's Tupton. I'm with WePost Media. We do social media marketing for businesses, all the way from businesses like Clint's, Locani. We haven't started working with Clint yet, but we will, I'm sure. And all the way up to giant corporations. So everything in between, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, mostly Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Tube10 and say hello.
Great, thanks a lot. WePost Media, round of applause. Digital Aptitude, can we have Digital Aptitude come up? Did anybody get food tonight? Raise your hand if you ate some food. Round of applause for Digital Aptitude.
Thanks.
So Anthony, what do you do and what's going on with Digital Aptitude?
So we're super busy at Digital Aptitude right now. We are a full-service digital marketing agency, so we do social media, pay-per-click advertising, and search engine optimization. We actually have a need right now for a pay-per-click specialist. So if anybody knows an advanced pay-per-click specialist, please let us know. We have the job posted on our website, digitalaptitude.com/careers. And then if you ever have any need for digital marketing services, we're here for you as well. Thanks.
Great, thanks Anthony. Puppet Labs, do we have anyone from Puppet Labs who wants to say a word? Kara.
Hey folks, it's great to have you here tonight. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so it's a big treat for us to get to host this and have all of you in our space once a month. We have posters on the wall with some of our open positions, but those are outdated, so there's probably a dozen more on our website. Check it out. We're hiring a lot, so help us out there. Okay, take care.
Thanks, Kara. Puppet Labs is also hosting Portland Startup Weekend. It's a 54-hour startup launch weekend. Imagine a hackathon and a business development teams all coming together to do some technology and put together a marketing and sales plan for it. If anyone's interested, we're going to have some information up here. And lastly, I'll just call Robert Collett up here for Crowd Compass. What does Crowd Compass do, and what are you guys hiring for?
Crowd Compass is an app developer for corporate event apps, and we're hiring across the board, so we're looking for developers for both iOS and Android, front-end and back-end developers, and quality assurance candidates as well.
Are the people who work there cool?
Most of them. There are some exceptions. I'm not going to name any names, but yeah.
Thank you, Robert. Round of applause for Crowd Compass. Okay, with that said, I am going to switch spots, and I want to show everyone really quick, when you build in Keynote, for some reason the projector loves you. So Patrick, let me switch spots with you. And round of applause for Patrick.
So I think it's really funny that we're having this topic of making money with mobile apps on April Fool's Day. It just seems really appropriate. Because it's really hard, and most people don't make money with mobile apps. But I'll talk today about what I've done and how I've made some money over time. So I'll be talking about my app business. I'm going to go through this really fast. I'm deciding what apps to make, your product, and app marketing. So I've been doing this for 5 years. I started in 2009. I've been selling apps on the App Store since 2009 full-time. I have 13 apps. I've had over 7 million downloads. I have a top 10 paid books app, my audiobook app. I think it's number 3 today, and a top 20 free books app in the books category. And last year, I started a second company with a colleague of mine, and we just had our first app approved by Apple, and we're going to launch it next Wednesday. So this is Inkstone. This is my portfolio of Inkstone apps. I started with that first app on the top left. It's a speed reading app. I call it a speed reading ebook reader. It's an ebook reader that has a guide that moves through it, through the text. I started with that app. It had like 10 books, and then I created some language-specific versions and a kids version and a free version. And I grew that app, and over time it turned into a general ebook reader. So I stripped out the speed reading functionality and created a second app called Mega Reader, which is just an ebook reader with access to over 2 million free books that you can download. After that, I stripped out the ebook reader, and I created a free app, a book discovery app that allows you to find those 2 million books and then open them in iBooks or the Kindle app or the Nook app or whatever ebook reader you want. And then I created a paid version, and I monetized that one with advertising. Then I created a paid version without advertising and a couple more catalogs. And after that, I created an audiobook app that has access to over 8,500 free audiobooks that you can download and listen to within the app. And then I created a free version of that, and then a French audiobook app, an audio Bible app. And soon I'm going to be releasing a concert app with 130,000 free concerts. The interesting thing to note about this is all these apps are out of the same code base. For Phase 4 Mobile, my second company, initially we're focusing on the sleep market. So apps to help people fall asleep, apps to help people wake up, and also to track their sleep. Our first app is a sleep sounds app. It has over 500 natural sound loops like waterfalls and rain and rivers and birds and relaxing sounds to help you sleep. The second app will add 250 more harsh sounds like gibbon monkeys and air raid sirens and jackhammers. And you can create a sequence, so you can start with birds and waterfalls, and if that doesn't work, you can go to the air raid sirens. And then the third app will be a sleep cycle app to help you track your sleep and wake up between sleep cycles. So how do we decide what to build? The first thing is you have to build something good. Don't make another cheesy app. It's not worth your time, and we don't need any more of those on the App Store. You have to build an app that works well and satisfies some specific need. Mobile apps tend to be focused. Don't build the kitchen sink app. Build something that's focused and does one thing really well. It has to look nice, be well designed, and for the Lord's sake, don't design it yourself. Hire a professional. Unless you can support yourself designing apps for other people, don't do it yourself. On the App Store, there are 24 categories on the iOS App Store, and there's over 1 million apps on the App Store, and you really need to be in the top 100 in a category, or you're virtually invisible. And if you look at it, okay, so 24 categories, there's paid and free. Okay, so there's 4,800 slots, and there's 1 million apps. That means that less than 0.5% of all the apps out there get any kind of visibility and are making any kind of money. So why am I saying this? One, it just points out how hard it is, and two, it might be a good idea to look at that top 100 and in particular the top 25 and see what kind of apps are there and what kind of apps are popular, what kind of apps are people buying. I think it's important to aim for the masses. That the price points are just too low on the App Store. If you can charge $1, $1, $5 at the most, and you're getting 70% of that, you need to sell a lot. Whereas on the web, you can create a SaaS app that's targeted towards a niche, and you can do really well, but you can charge $20 a month, $40 a month. If you're making 70 cents on a one-time app purchase, you need to sell a lot of them. So don't make niche apps. Focus on the masses. A lot of people say the App Store is a hit-based business, and I tend to agree with that, but you don't necessarily need home runs. You can play a good game of baseball hitting singles and doubles. Likewise, you can create a decent app business, creating apps that maybe aren't in the top 500 or even the top 1,000 on the App Store, but you can create a portfolio of apps that combined can create a good business. Create a portfolio. It's akin to an investment portfolio, like Clint was saying. So create a diverse set of apps, create free apps, paid apps for the iPhone, iPad, perhaps Android, international markets, mass market, niche even. So for my speed reading app, I created one app, but then I created some niche apps just because it was easy to do. And they just do a fraction of my more popular apps, but it all adds up. Diversify your revenue sources, so app sales, advertising, affiliate income, in-app purchases, subscriptions, and experiment. Try different things. I've tried all of these, and app sales, advertising, affiliate income have worked great for me. In-app purchases, not so much. Subscriptions were a total failure. But you have to try and see what works. as I did with Inkstone, find different ways to spin out different apps from your code base, create derivative apps, look for adjacent opportunities. And you can also use a portfolio to cross-promote between these apps, which I'll talk a bit more about later. Paid versus free. You should be doing both. I think of paid and free as two different markets, and you should be in both. Some people will only buy paid apps. Some people will only buy free apps. You should be addressing both markets. Free apps get more downloads. You can advertise, you can monetize them with advertising. And in fact, my best free apps do as well or better than my top paid apps. As well, you can use your free apps to cross-promote your other apps. So it becomes a cornerstone of your portfolio, a feeder channel for your paid apps. It becomes an audience that you can address. But you must offer some significant value in the free apps. I've found that light and disabled apps just don't work. You have to actually be providing some value. I think it's important to provide a minimum barrier to entry. Do something that's a little bit hard, because if you're successful, people are going to copy you. And in fact, you should be looking at the App Store and look at apps that are successful that perhaps aren't done very well and you think you can do better. That might be a good app for you to go after. Go international. International is super important. The aggregate international market is bigger than the US market. For me, 2/3 of my revenue is non-US based, and 3/4 of my downloads are non-US based. I think that's because not a lot of people localize their apps, so there's less competition. Also, some people who game the App Store, they typically focus on the US App Store, so you have less of that in foreign app stores.
Patrick, can you talk about the colors on that so people in the back can
sorry.
see?
The blue is US, my US revenue. This is a revenue graph. And the rest is other countries. Interestingly, Russia is my #2 country by number of downloads and revenue, which I would have never expected that. But I think it's important to localize, get it out there, and you may get traction in some of these international markets. So marketing, app marketing. Again, visibility is everything. If you're not in the top 100 of a category, you're virtually invisible, which is 99.5% of all the apps out there. If somebody doesn't see your app, they can't find it. But there are hundreds of millions of device owners, so there's a market there. But how do you get in front of them? So the traditional ways are search, and App Store search is really important, getting good keywords and doing keyword research. Getting featured by Apple on the App Store is highly recommended, but you really have to get lucky for that. You should be when you release, contacting press and app review sites. You should have a web and a social media presence, but I believe that you really have to focus on the App Store. You need to do all these other things, but focus on the App Store because that's where most people find apps. And on iOS, the ranking is based on the number of downloads that you get. So the ranking in a category is based on the number of downloads. So what a lot of people will do is advertising or pay people in China to download their apps, which I wouldn't recommend. But you can basically buy downloads through advertising. However, the cost per install for a free app is over $1. And in a free category, you have to have multiple thousands of apps in order to get a top 25 ranking. So it's super expensive. Some people will try to drive themselves up into the ranking by advertising spend and hope that their app will get noticed, and then they'll have organic conversions after that. Sometimes it works. Usually it doesn't. You can spend a lot of money and waste a lot of money trying to get your app noticed through advertising. And finally, branding, which I feel that branding follows app success. if you have deep pockets, again, if you have a lot of money, you can pay to try and get a brand recognition on the App Store, but it usually doesn't pay off. What I would rather do is create a more self-sustaining method and grow my own audience, my own addressable audience, and through an app portfolio, use that to promote my apps through cross-promotion. And to do that, so it's kind of a chicken and egg thing. You kind of need the audience to promote your apps, but how do you get an audience? So it's, for me, it happened over time. I started with one app, and it got featured on the App Store, and I got an audience there, and slowly, I built it up, and I added new apps, and grew my audience that way. I don't know of a better way to do it, but once you have some kind of foothold, you can start using your audience to promote new apps and cross-promote between your apps. And you can create, within your app, you can implement what I call marketing levers. So you can use house ads. If you have free apps with advertising, banner advertising, you can do your own house ads. You can have nag messages in those free apps, so when they start up the app, you can tell them about one of your other apps or a new app you just launched. You can have more app screens, so within the app, they can bring up a screen with other apps that you recommend. Of course, they're usually yours. You can use push notifications for, typically for user engagement, to bring them back to the app, where they'll notice your nag messages and your house ads. Typically, I use it for if there's new content available. And I have nearly 2 million people that I can send a push notification to and bring them back to my apps, and they will see the cross-promotion messaging there, and that will raise the downloads of all the apps, and in particular when I have a new app. And I don't know of any good out-of-the-box tools for this. There's some, but you may have to devote some development time to this. So typically, what you want to do is, when you release an app, you want to do a burst campaign, because the way the App Store rankings work is if you get a lot of downloads, concentrated downloads all at once, that will push you very quickly into the top of the category. So what you do is a burst campaign to drive the app up into the category, and then once it's there, you use your ongoing cross-promotion to sustain that ranking and visibility. Also, beyond that, and something you can do outside of a cross-promotion ecosystem is you can, I've used app a day, free app a day services a couple times. They didn't cost me anything, and each time I got over 200,000 downloads. So the way that works is you take your paid app, you make it free for a day, or it's typically 2 or 3 days, so it goes around the world. And then you make it paid again. And each time I've done that, I've found that I've been able to maintain my ranking, or it's even gone higher when I've gone back to paid. Another thing you can do before you have your own cross-promotion network, your own portfolio, and I've done this successfully, is you can find other app developers that have similar, maybe complementary apps. I did that with another app developer in the books category who had a book cataloging app, and we added cross-promotion and functionality, in fact, that would allow people to add books from my app to his cataloging app, and to open books in the cataloging app in my app, and that was very, very successful. So there are things you can do before you have your own portfolio. Names are very important on the App Store, and descriptive names trump unique and clever ones, because somebody just looks at your app on the App Store for an instance, and they have to know quickly what your app is about. And if it's a cute, clever name, that they may just move on. Here are a couple of examples of some names: free books and free audiobooks. These are competitive apps to mine, but very good names, very descriptive. No, you know right away what these apps are about. Ebook search is one of my apps. Also, it's important to include taglines for 2 reasons. One, it tells the potential customer what the app is about. And 2, the words in your title count as keywords, and they're weighted more than keywords on in your keyword list. So just to run through quickly what the customer sees when they look at your app on the App Store, starting from the left, the first thing they're going to see is your icon, and it should pop. It should stand out against the other apps. So here are a couple of my icons. The one on the left is my audiobook app, the red one, and then the second one from the left on the bottom is my ebook search app. So they really stand out. So that's the first thing they see, so it should catch their eye. The second thing they'll look at is the title, and you can see it's really cut off at the bottom. So you want the first word, hopefully, to have some kind of description of what your app is about. They should be able to tell what your app is about from that word. So if they happen to click through, they're going to see your icon again, and then they're going to see your full title with the tagline. So again, the tagline is really important there to tell them what the app is about. And the keywords here, again, are really important. I have free books for iBooks. Well, this says another ebook readers, but my current title is free books for iBooks, Kindle, Nook, and more. So if somebody searches for iBooks, Kindle, or Nook, and a lot of people do, they're going to see my app right there. The next thing they're going to look at is a star rating. It's important to keep your star rating up. And then they're going to look at your screenshots. And your screenshots, they can just be regular screenshots, or you can actually have them be mini advertisements with ad copy. And it's especially important that you do that on the first screenshot. And then if they scroll down, only then are they going to see your description. And they're only going to see the first paragraph of your description. So it's really important that that first paragraph really sells. So just to wrap up, aim for the masses, create quality apps, build a portfolio of apps, and use that to cross-promote and create levers. A good icon is important, a descriptive title, screenshot advertisements, and just a few resources. There's a book, App Empire by Chad Moreta, which it comes off as kind of a get rich quick, become an app store millionaire kind of book, but his strategies for deciding what app to build and also for cross promotion within apps is really solid. There's a site called App Annie, which is really good for researching apps on the App Store. If you see an app that you're considering going after, you can look at it on App Annie and see how it's done over time. Sensor Tower and App Codes are sites for keyword research, and there are others as well. And then appgotomarket.com. I came across this site recently. Most of these app marketing sites aren't worth your time, but I've been impressed with some of their content, so that's worth checking out.
That's great. Patrick, keep that slide up.
Sure.
Round of applause for Patrick.
Thanks.
So I thought there was a lot of good tips in there. I want to open up to Q&A, but I just want to hear you guys maybe give each other, what advice would you give each other? And maybe Patrick, one question I have for you, for Clint. I see Clint doing a lot of the stuff that you said in your presentation, but I wonder if he just needs an app family before he starts spending time on all these other things you talked about with brand. I wonder if you can give your thoughts on that, of what advice you give for Clint as far as that and any other advice.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say building more apps would be a great idea. And if you can build an app in 3 days or a week, just start cranking them out. Yeah, and create that portfolio, and through that experimentation, you'll figure out what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
I would say do a lot more of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Clint, I'm curious if you have any advice for Patrick, the guy who's been living off of his app family for the last 5 years.
I'd say my question would be, what is, and if there is, what is it, the hurdle or whatever keeping you from growing, hiring a ton of people? Is this a lifestyle business, or is it something that can grow and scale, and you can buy other companies and basically have 500 apps?
That's an interesting question. Do you have any employees?
I don't have direct employees, but I have contractors. I have developers and designers that work for me.
Okay.
full time.
Okay. And so is this a lifestyles business, or is it the kind of thing of, you know, like Clint is asking, could it go on and on and on? Are you happy with it, or what do you think?
I've been really happy with it so far. It's supported my family for all these years. That's really the focus of the new company. We want to use Inkstone as a launch pad to go after bigger markets. Our first market is sleep. So again, mass market. So in my Inkstone apps, lots of people read, lots of people listen to audiobooks. It's a great market, but everybody sleeps.
Right.
Right. And we've noticed other apps on the App Store doing very well in sleep, in the sleep market. So we're going after that initially, and then beyond that, we're looking for high value markets. So that's the goal of the new company, is to go big, if you will.
Okay.
Cool.
So I could ask both you guys a ton of questions, but we have a few minutes here. Let's open up the audience. Does anyone in the audience have any questions for the speakers here? I have someone in back. Let me do a little mic here. Oh. Test, test. I think it's on. Just say your name and company.
All right, my name is Paul Enriquez, and I represent Rocket Fuel here in the Northwest. When you talked about making revenue through in-app elements like advertising, in-app purchases, you talked a lot about getting your app ranked in the App Store for the initial purchase or the initial download. What do you do to sustain yourself after that download to generate that revenue, that sustainability within the app, the usage part?
So once I drive an app up into the category, that's where the cross promotion, the sustaining cross promotion kicks in to help keep them there. So it's two elements. It has to be a good app. If it's a lousy app, it's not going to stay there. But if it is a good app, then you can keep it at that altitude. You can keep it at that level by some bursts of cross promotion and ongoing cross promotion.
I'd say to bake that in would be keyword strategy. You can actually find which rankings you have for individual words within your title, within your keyword set, and your description. And one important thing is those keywords and all those tags work like a website, where those can be found within Google and Bing, which is another step outside the marketplace, where there's a ton of traffic trying to find these same things. So that fine-tuning that can kind of help maintain that long term.
Yep.
Great. Next question. Name and company.
Hi, thanks guys. Matt from Notch 8. I have so the old adage that if you want a lot of customers, you go Android. If you want paying customers, you do an iOS app. Is that changing in your opinion, or is it still hold true?
Good question. So far, all my apps have been on iOS. I'm just porting a couple of my apps to Android, so I'll find out. But I guess it depends on what is a lot of users. My free apps do generate a lot of users on iOS, but I don't know what that would be comparatively on Android.
If I can chime in, there are definitely two different ecosystems, and I don't want to generalize, but I feel like they are two different types of customers. I always look back at how Mac was versus Windows in the late 90s, early 2000s, where it was an open marketplace on a PC, but there was a lot of crap, but lots of good stuff. Easy to get stuff published and on somebody's computer. So there's a lot of noise. For me, I think I was able to get through that noise, whereas iOS, I think it actually is going to be quite a bit harder. The process to get on the iPhone and an iPad is time-consuming. It's lengthy. They make sure that your product is very, very good and checked and bug-free. So it's hard to produce a bad product for the iPhone market. It's easy to produce whatever you want and publish it, and 3 hours later it's on the marketplace. So in my experience, yeah, lots of users came kind of out of nowhere. An iPhone, I think I'm having to fight a little harder for them, basically.
Great.
Yeah.
We have time for one more question. In the back, someone's making me run way back there. Oh my God. Name and company.
My name is Lee Shepard. I just created a company, MW Shepard. We did everything totally wrong by what you're supposed to do on apps. We created an outsourcing company overseas and tried to do things. Built a really good popular app for gold and silver, but we didn't know anything about metrics and stuff. We have lots of downloads, but it's starting to peter off now. Rather than to reskin and throw out other apps, do you have any other suggestions to re-energize that base again?
One thing you could do is if you have push notifications and you are adding some kind of new content or features, that's one way to bring people back to your app and to your app portfolio. And as I mentioned earlier, you can use those people coming back to promote your other apps. That might be one way. Another way might be to create new apps and just keep adding to your portfolio and creating as your revenue per app goes down, try to look to replace that with new apps and new revenue. So across your portfolio, your revenue is staying steady or going up, even if individual app revenue is going down.
And I'd say look at as much data as possible that you have in front of you, and if That's pretty typical with marketing and PR pushes. Big spike, and it ends up raising your volume long term, but it definitely dissolves. I would say look at how big of a net you have basically, and what data you have and what you're in control of. Say that you have 15 apps. Look at it in a complete quantitative sense. And thinking, okay, are these 7, are they similar? And do we have keyword placement with these 5 keywords? Is there a way you could adjust it so that you can average between those 7 apps higher on 2 keywords, basically? So it's like keyword hacking in a way. I don't like using that word, but it's usually from a data perspective rather than a qualitative perspective. Knowing what moles you have in the system and using them towards your advantage to point people in the right direction, basically.
Great. Everyone, these guys are going to stick around for a few minutes, so if you have any more questions, feel free to come up here. We're also going to be hopping right across door to On Deck Sports Bar. We're going to be celebrating Clint's first iOS app launch that happened today, which is super exciting. A round of applause for Clint. Just a special thanks to WePost Media for letting us all drink tonight. A special thanks to Digital Aptitude for bringing the beer. Special thanks to Puppet Lab for letting us crash their home every single month and have lots of people come here. TAO and Crowd Compass as ongoing sponsors. One announcement that next month, we do Innovation in Motion, different speakers and topics on the first Tuesday of every month. Next month, I'm super excited about it. It's called Into the Mind of the Nerd. We're going to have a iOS developer and a back-end developer developing an app from start to finish, developing it, publishing it in 1 hour or less. At the same time that's happening, we're going to have someone explaining, now he chose this language. Why did he pick Node versus Ruby versus PHP? What's the difference? Now they're doing this in the front end. Here's their language options. What's the difference? How do you project manage this? So the point of the Into the Mind of the Nerd is for people like me that are trying to learn how to speak nerd, and you're actually going to get to watch some serious nerds live develop and publish an app while you have someone else breaking it down for us marketing folks that are still trying to learn this language. So that's the first Tuesday of next month. Please go ahead and sign up. And it'd be great if everyone could kind of pick up where you're at, and let's move it across the street to On Deck Sports Bar and continue the conversation. Thanks.